Hi everyone, Justin Maxwell, Big Life Financial. Today I'm answering the question, how do I know if I qualify for the employee retention credit? And this one is a unique subject because it's something that if you're any human that has owned a business that you've been marketed to in the last year to year and a half. And so you have some people who are like, it's super easy to qualify. And then you have some accountants that are on the other side, they're saying not as easy to qualify, really hard to qualify. So where's the truth? It's a good question. And so hopefully this video will provide clarity here, because it is easier to qualify than some accountants will tell you it is, but it's not as easy to qualify as some servicers are telling you it is. So number one, the easiest way to qualify is if you had a significant decrease in revenue. Now, it varies on when it is, because this was a stretch of time. So the time frame that we're looking at for most businesses is March 2020 to September 2021. And for the 2020 quarters, which is the quarter 2 through quarter 4 of 2020, the significant decrease in revenue is defined as 50%. So the way we do it, or the way you would do it, is you compare quarter 2, 2019 to quarter 2, 2020. Was there a 50% decrease in revenue when you compare those? If you had that 50% decrease in revenue, you automatically qualify for the credit. It's a safe harbor. That's the documentation you need to provide. All that is the same. The 50% rule is for quarter 2, 2020, quarter 3, 2020, quarter 4, 2020. In 2021, the rules changed. So it's no longer 50%, it is now 20%. So again, we're going to do the same thing. Quarter 1, 2021 compared to quarter 1, 2019. Was there a 50% decrease in revenue? If there was, you automatically qualify for the credit through the safe harbor. That's the easiest way to qualify. And oftentimes, that is what your accountants are looking at, because it's numbers-based, and that's what accountants are good at, is numbers. And so if your accountant has told you you don't qualify for this credit, it's likely that they're looking at that qualifier, the revenue qualifier. But that's not the only way to qualify for the employee retention credit. It's just one of the ways to qualify. And this is why some accountants say it's hard to qualify, because those revenue decreases might have only been true for 1 quarter or 2 quarters, and then the rest of the time it's non-existent. So it's difficult to qualify that way. But again, it's not the only way to qualify. The other way to qualify is to have had a full or partial shutdown of some area of your business due to a COVID mandate. COVID mandate could be anything from the federal government, the state government, the city government, the county government, organizations like OSHA. So mandates that are coming towards businesses that say you need to comply with this rule in order to qualify. Now, these full or partial shutdowns had to relate and have a more than nominal impact on your business. More than nominal is defined as greater than 10%. So me describing that was probably like, what the heck? Like, that is very vague, very subjective, and it is. But when you dig a little bit deeper, you can actually quantify this in a way that makes it make sense for you and is actually justifiable as greater than 10%. It's not as subjective as some people are making it out to be. Now, some of the people on the it's really easy to qualify, they're just going to use language that says all you have to show is that you had a negative impact due to COVID, or you had to wear masks, or things like that. Those types of things aren't necessarily qualifiers. They could be, but it has to have a more than 10% negative impact on your business, and it has to come from a mandate. So, for example, there was a mandate that stated that you had to have a 6-foot distancing degree. It could have been greater in other counties or cities around the country. Or there was only X amount of people allowed inside of a building at once. So, for example, if you're a dentist and you used to have the ability to have really no limits except for fire limits of how many people could be inside your building at once, and then COVID came and the mandate said you could only have 15 people total in the building, now you have to not have people waiting in your waiting room. You have to move chairs apart. And oftentimes those resulting behaviors had a negative impact on your business operations. So I know a lot of dentists for example, that had people wait in their cars, and then they'd receive a text, and then they could come in, and then they'd have to go sit down. They'd get their procedure done. Let's just say it's a hygiene procedure, and then they'd leave. But that time frame, the loss of time between having them sit in the waiting room, and then the fact that they have to do a deep dive sanitation of that entire area, oftentimes resulted in less time between patients. So if you were seeing a patient every hour, and now because of all these COVID mandates and all these distancing things you're having to put in place, now you're seeing people every hour and a half, that's a greater than 10% increase in time that you're having to see people, and thus that becomes a qualifying event. So as long as the increase in time is lasting, if it lasted all 6 quarters, you can claim the credit and be able to justify it. Now, is that the only thing that qualifies? It's not. There's a variety of others. It could have been sanitation things. It could have been distancing things. One of the harder ones, but is possible, is the, what's the word? Let's just stop right there and I'll edit this. 3, 2, 1. One of the other ones that is available is supply chain issues. So if you had supply chain issues, now it's harder to justify. There's more nuances to it. You need to speak with a professional on it. But supply chain issues could be a qualifying event. Now, how do you know who to choose? Because knowing how to qualify for the R&D or the employee retention credit, let's stop there. So how do you know who to service you? Because there's so much marketing for the employee retention credit. Some accountants tell you don't qualify. You have all these people telling you qualify just automatically. So how do you know who to trust? The best way that I would go about it is to ask people, how do you define more than nominal greater impact on my business? Like, give me examples. Have them tell you that you have to prove it to them before they just run the numbers and give you the money. Like, this isn't a credit that any servicer could ever claim for you. It has to be a credit that you are saying, I had this impact and I need someone to help me access it. Like, it's not us telling you qualify, it's you telling us or you telling your servicer that you qualify. That's the big key when it comes to the employee retention credit that I think is lost by a lot of people, is that the individual business owner is the one that's going to make the decision, not the servicer, because the servicer is the one that is going to help them interpret it and make that decision, but it's going to come down to the business owner actually determining, here's all the criteria, here's how it works, here's the more than nominal rule, here's all the ways that I was negatively impacted. Do I feel that I can substantiate this with actual data, time data, hours lost data, increased cost data, loss of productivity, loss of new patient, those type of data points that actually substantiate a greater than 10% impact, not just I was negatively impacted. Like, that's not sufficient enough. You need to be able to substantiate it. So how do you qualify for the employee retention credit? It's much more nuanced than people think, but a lot more businesses qualify for it than people think on the accounting side, and probably a lot less than people think on some of the way it's marketed by some of the servicers. I hope this video was helpful. If you would like help claiming the employee retention credit, you can use the link below and we'll take a look at your situation and see if that's something that's available for you.